Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another live this morning. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your day. We certainly are, and I hope you had your vitamin C and you've enjoyed that. Don't start your day without water first, then vitamin C. Okay, a few of you are coming on. Everybody's asking, Brahim, how come you're number one all the time? How do you do it? Michael, Norland, Madeleine, Kippawa, Brahim, how do you do it, buddy? Joanne from North Bay. Sandy, good morning. And Mary from Norwich. And Kevin, how are you? Oshawa, Michelin. Kevin, I hope you're feeling better. Nick. And from our staff, Elaine, good morning. Jeanette from our staff. Fran, Orangeville. Yolande, bonjour. Andrea, Nouveau-Brunswick. And Sandy, Chilliwack. Chantal, comment ça va? Rosalinda, Niagara Falls. Robin from Connecticut. And Deb from Motown. Gertie, Burlington, good morning. Keith, how are you? Bell River, Kathy, Brampton. And Donna, Shediac, Nouveau-Brunswick. Margaret, Penticton. Veronica, Denise, North Bay. Diane, Shediac, New Brunswick. And Kevin says he's on the mend. Good. Roxanne, how are you? And Georgie, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Frida, Gary. Brenda, Sudbury. Never heard of it. Sue, good morning. Manitoulin Island. Sandra, how are you from Brampton? Mary, PEI. And we appreciate that. Jerry, good morning. Eva, how are you? Anne from Aylmer, Donna, and Debbie from Boodley, Darlene, South Carolina, Judy, Nouveau-Brunswick, Anna Hamner, near Sudbury, in Sudbury, out of Sudbury, Cheryl, Lynn Marie from Minnesota. I missed you, Wendy. Sorry about that. Denise, Caledon, beautiful area. Dave, Cheryl. I missed you, Cheryl, too. And Cecilia. And another Cecilia. Sharon from Kansas. Sonia, Aylmer. Okay, two more. Elaine, Paul Lake, British Columbia. And Nina Chatham. Okay. Yesterday I read, and I just want to talk about this, kind of interesting. Reading old articles on Alzheimer's, okay? And it's fascinating what they knew, okay? And I want to talk to you about two men that I was reading about. Both of them, one I met, the other one, I knew a lot about him because, actually I met him too. I shouldn't say I didn't meet, I'm going to mention two names here. Dr. Abram Hoffer and Linus Pauling. Now, Linus Pauling probably be the more famous one because he won a Nobel Prize in chemistry for his work on vitamin C. And you know what I always said about my dear Linus Pauling? I said he only missed by one letter in the alphabet. He was talking about vitamin C, okay, ascorbic acid. And I was talking about vitamin D and the importance of vitamin D. And of course, you and I know that the real vitamin C is coffee. Okay? But we're not going to talk about that this morning. We're going to talk about Alzheimer's and what Linus Pauling, okay, who was born in 1901, an American, smart. And he died in 1994. But he talked about Alzheimer's. And Abraham Hoffer, who was a physician, psychiatrist, and was born in Saskatchewan in 1917. He wrote many, many books. I was part of his society, the Orthomolecular Society. He did a lot of research, Dr. Hoffer, on schizophrenia, bipolar, depression, and looked at it even back then in the 60s, 70s, 80s. He was a genius, light years ahead of his time, because what he talked about is deficiencies. And he was very, very big on B vitamins, Dr. Hoffer, and schizophrenia. Okay, wrote many books about it. And I'm just wondering if they'd be still available today. You might be able to, if you ever wanted to get a copy or download, or I'm not sure, because I haven't looked at it in a while. But I was reading what they said. These two men combined what they said about Alzheimer's. And it's interesting, okay? And what they talked about is Alzheimer's. They had 7 things that they wrote down, okay, in these articles. And both of them agreed on these points, okay, in Alzheimer's. And I found it fascinating to go back into, the late 80s and watch these men combine things on, we know so much more today, and I'll go into that a little bit. But here's what they said back in the early 1990s, late 1980s about Alzheimer's. 1, caused by, okay, you know what was the first thing put on the top? Dehydration. Dehydration. What? Chronic dehydration, they said, was a major factor in Alzheimer's. Wow. And guys, you know me. Vitamin W, water, okay? And I like water and salt, okay? I'm dehydration is water and salt, okay? And they're saying that the brain shrinks like a prune in the absence of water. Wow. And chronic dehydration is a major factor in Alzheimer's. And there's a lot of people, and guys, I just got to say it again. Only water is water. What's the sweet spot of water? 64 ounces for my American friends, okay? Or 2 liters for us Canadians. 64 ounces or 2 liters. That's the sweet spot. How did I determine the sweet spot of water? Well, I used to actually measure the viscosity of blood. And I can tell you that that's the sweet spot. Now, some people need more, but very few people need less. Very few people need less. And unfortunately, we don't have a little light on top of our head that tells us that we're dehydrated. When you're thirsty, folks, you're already dehydrated. And I've always shown my patients this when it comes to water. I used to show my patients this. I used to tell them, look, trust me, okay? You came to see me, trust me, you're dehydrated. Oh, Dr. Martin, I drink coffee, that's made from water, isn't it? I drink tea, that's mostly water, isn't it? I drink juice, that's a lot of water. No, only water is water. Water's processed in your body differently. Okay? So don't listen to people that don't know what they're talking about, so-called gurus. Oh, you can drink too much water. Yeah, I guess it's possible. It's possible. But guys, don't throw a red herring in there. Because the vast majority of people are dehydrated. And short term can give you a headache. Long term, according to these two geniuses, can give you Alzheimer's. Chronic dehydration. Here's what they said. Let me continue on. Okay? Let me continue on. Here's the second thing they said. When it comes to Alzheimer's, listen up, Lindas. And you know what? Men, I'm going to call you Larrys. I liked that yesterday. Because we talked yesterday about red flags for men, right? Larrys. Not Lindas, Larrys. Why not? The second one they said, okay, so the primary cause, according to these two men that talked about Alzheimer's in a combined article, they said dehydration. Second, interesting, prescription, medication, intoxication. Back in the 1990s, they said one of the biggest factors in Alzheimer's was the intoxication of the brain from prescription meds. The side effects. And guys, please, okay, I'm not telling you or your friends or anybody else not to take meds. I'm not doing that. I don't do that. What I'm saying is they were on to something. And, what happens in the brain and prescription meds over a long period of time can be very detrimental to the brain. One of them we know for sure is statin drugs, the drugs that lower cholesterol. Has an enormous effect on the brain. Well, hello? Where do you think you got a lot of cholesterol? Fat head? That's a compliment, by the way. Okay? It's a compliment. Where do you got a lot of fat? In your brain. Why do you want to lower it? You don't get a prize for having low cholesterol. And if it would have fixed heart disease, it would have fixed it a long time ago. That's one of the biggest side effects of prescription meds statin drugs. Lipitor, Crestor, Zocor. Okay? The unholy trinity, I call it. Okay? I'm serious. Looking for love in all the wrong places and the unintended consequences. Here's another one. Blood pressure medication. Diuretics. Getting the body to eliminate, one of the biggest factors in the brain, in magnesium. And again, I don't tell people not to take their blood pressure medication, but just beware of the side effects. Better to know it. Unfortunately, nobody tells you about that. I'm always I get upset at physicians, but even more, I'm upset at pharmacists that don't warn people. It's their job. And they give you a list, but, they don't hammer it home. Now, if you've got a good pharmacist that really, warns you, good for you. And I'm going to tell you something that's what they were saying in this article. When they said prescription meds, okay, statins, diuretics, here's a big one, a huge one in my opinion. They mention it, but antibiotics. Your best friend if you have an infection, the side effects causes leaky gut, causes a disruption, okay? I was reading again about the gut. I've been talking about this for so long, but I'm always fascinated how your body works. And I'm going to pull a hair out of my head, okay? Just going to pull one. I can't even say it. I don't have many. I shouldn't be pulling hairs out of my head. I got more hair on, men. We got more hair in our ears and our chin than on top of our heads, Larry. Not all of us. Some people got a good head of hair. Okay? I used to. Okay? But if you take one little hair, okay, that represents the epithelial layer between your gut and your blood. In between that, you got a little lining, and then you have tight junction of cells and bacteria, okay? And you see how I'm putting my fingers together here, locking my two hands together? What happens in leaky gut, guys? Okay, that hair-like size, it gets compromised. And the tight junctions of your gut, they're not as tight. So what happens? Stuff that doesn't belong in your blood. Remember, your gut is sending the garbage out to end up in the toilet. Okay? Garbage ends up in the toilet, what your body doesn't need. It detoxifies itself out of the body. But if you have a tight junction barrier, a very tight, nothing gets in your blood other than molecules of food, nutrients, vitamins, minerals, water, salt. Okay? Your body's smart. But anything else, bacteria, viruses, toxins, heavy metals like mercury, lead, cadmium, yeast, fungus. That don't belong in your blood. Poop. That don't belong in your blood. Debris. That don't belong in your blood. So if you don't have leaky gut, none of that stuff gets in your bloodstream. But what they're saying is when you take an antibiotic, what does it do? An antibiotic destroys that little wee epithelial lining. It kills your friendly bacteria. You don't have the tight junctions. It don't kill you right away. You don't know it. Most people, they have no idea. You know what, even in medicine today, get 10 doctors in a room and talk to them about leaky gut. Now, I'm going to tell you something. In the 1990s, remember, I've been around a long time. I had a radio show for a long time. I've been talking like this for a long time. Put 10 people in a room today, 10 doctors. About 8 out of 10 will tell you, leaky gut, what's that? What is that? Leaky gut. Now, not all doctors, but I'm going to tell you, in the 1990s, all doctors, just about, 99.9% leaky gut. What are you talking about? They didn't have a clue in the 1990s, but Dr. Abram Hoffer, and Linus Pauling, they knew. They knew that meds, statins, diuretics, even worse, antibiotics, sure, they can save your life, but it's a double-edged sword. They understood that. It affects the brain because it's allowing things in the blood-brain barrier, what we know today compared to what they knew. And we see it in Parkinson's and MS and these neurological disorders, that brains are full of heavy metals. How the heck did that happen? It starts with leaky gut. And what makes leaky gut more than anything else? What's at the top of the list? Antibiotics. It's the top of the list. Sure, well, I'm going to get into it. They say this. Okay? They say this. 3. Okay? This is according to them. Okay? I find this stuff fascinating. Cerebral allergies to food. Number 3. 1, dehydration. 2, prescription meds. Side effects. They called it prescription meds intoxication. I'll give you another one. I shouldn't have gone off the prescription meds. I wanted to talk to you about this one. And guess what? I forgot. But now I'm being reminded. You and I, okay? You and I, we do a lot of talking about the self-cleaning oven, right? Where do you find your self-cleaning oven? Your brain. When you sleep. But I'm going to tell you, what intoxicates your brain are sleeping pills. Why do I say that? Because sleeping pills sedate the brain. And the self-cleaning oven of your brain, which only works at night when you're sleeping, does not work if you're on medication like sleeping pills, sleeping aids. It doesn't work because it's sedated. And you go, yeah, but doc, I don't sleep. Well, you're not sleeping. You got knocked out. Have you ever been knocked out in your life? Has anything, you ever hit your head so hard you, out? Well, the only time I remember hitting my head a couple of times, but I didn't really pass out. Okay, playing hockey. In my younger days, I remember a guy, oh man. He put me on my butt, but I hit my head on the ice. In the days when you had a helmet that was so thin, it was like, I don't think it did anything. Okay? But I probably got a concussion. And in those days, nobody even knew what a concussion was. Okay? Remember the days of Noah when I was a kid? Okay? Anywho, when you get knocked out, your brain's not regenerating. Your brain's not, you just came out of an operation. Oh man, do I ever feel good? You just got anesthetic. Man, I feel good. Oh, man, I slept through that whole thing while they replaced my hip. And oh, do I ever feel good? Nah, you don't feel good. Like, you got knocked out, man. There's no repair going on while you're knocked out. And yet millions and millions of people every day, every night, take a sleeping pill. And I feel sorry for people that don't sleep. I do. I'm so sympathetic. Remember my new book, Sun, Steak, and Steel, and Sleep. I talk about it all the time. And they didn't even know this. Hoffer didn't know it. Pauling didn't know it. They didn't know exactly because the lymphatic system is something they didn't even know. They knew there was lymphatic drainage of the brain, but they didn't know about glial cells and the self-cleaning oven in the 1990s. Okay. Cerebral allergies to food. Interesting. Cerebral. But guys, at the end of the day, cerebral brain allergies to food are really not the brain's allergies to food. It's leaky gut, my friend. I'm bringing you back to the gut. Whereas, when you get the tight junctions are compromised, one of the things that happens in leaky gut is when these things come into the gut, they're not digested properly. This is why when I talk about leaky gut, yeah, antibiotic, but another thing is, if you don't have good stomach acidity, things come at the gut and they don't get microsized properly. And that's how you get food intolerances. And your body sees this food, because some people tell me, well, doc, I can't have dairy. Well, it's not the dairy. The dairy isn't the problem, because that's what they say. Dairy, bad. Dairy's not bad. Now, when they manipulate dairy, like milk, They manipulate it. Man thinks they're smarter than God. So what do? Well, they pasteurize it at 1200 degrees. They take out the fat because they think fat makes you fat, and they want to have skim milk. Ooh, if there's anything that drives me insane is when I go by the dairy section in a grocery store and I see skim milk or 1%. I said, that's the size of the brains of those idiots. Dairy is supposed to be dairy fat, cream, butter. It's good for you. It's a healthy fat. But people, okay, back to Doc, I can't have dairy. Well, it's not dairy. It's you. Don't ditch the dairy, switch it. But listen, there's some of you out there, okay? I actually had to have a little bit of a discussion. Was it yesterday? Probably. Like, I saw it, somebody sent me a study on eggs. It gave me a migraine. It was so stupid. Okay? Eggs are bad. Eggs will give you cholesterol. Eggs will kill you. I had a migraine. Okay? Folks, if you don't digest eggs, it's not the egg. It's you. Okay? It's you. You're the one. It's not the egg. Eggs are good for you. It's your autoimmune. It's your body. It's this got compromised. And, maybe even the upper GI, and you don't digest it properly. You don't bring it down. It's really an intolerance. A lot of people, oh, Doc, I got my blood tested and I'm allergic to everything. Like, why do you want to get your blood tested? Be your own doctor. How do you do with eggs? Oh, great. Well, then they're good for you. Doc, I don't digest eggs. Well, then stop eating them. Now, a lot of times, and this is a fact, after the reset, people get better with probiotics. Thousands of my patients got better. They need to be careful, but they're better. But in the meantime, if they irritate you, it's not eggs, it's not meat, it's not cheese, it's you. You got an internal problem. And what these dear men said is that these, what did they call it? Cerebral allergies to food. Well, it's not really the brain that's got an allergy to food. It's due to leaky gut. And the same thing, leaky gut, leaky brain. You guys know that. I say it all the time. Leaky gut, leaky brain. I say it all the time. The blood-brain barrier. How is your blood-brain barrier made up? I always see a barrier. When you hear the BBB, blood-brain barrier, when I was taught the blood-brain barrier, in my mind, I was thinking like, your brain is pristine. Because that's what they taught us. Because nothing gets past the blood-brain barrier. No toxins can get past the blood-brain barrier. I was taught that in the 1970s in school. leaky gut, leaky brain. If you don't have tight junctions, it's so... Remember the size, I already told you. The size of a hair. You got a hair-like substance that won't let gunk into your brain unless it's compromised. These guys were on to something, but they didn't really call it that. How do you get mercury into your brain? How do you get aluminum in the brain? Because that's what they said. One of the biggest things is heavy metals that get into the brain. Like aluminum. How does that get into the brain? Well, it crosses the blood-brain barrier. That ordinarily the blood-brain barrier wouldn't let it in. So it's fascinating stuff, guys. And you know what? Maybe we'll do part 2 tomorrow, because I have so much to cover. I really only got to 3 things that they talked about. These 2 geniuses. Smart men. Okay. Okay, I'm breathing. I had fun. early research on Alzheimer's. Okay? 2, what they call them, renegades? Yeah. They were light years ahead of their time. Okay, guys. We love you dearly. If you have questions for Friday, question and answer Friday, send your questions in. Okay? If you get blood work done and you want me to review it, send me your blood work. Okay? And we appreciate you guys tuning in to us on a daily basis. We appreciate it. You have no idea. The success we have with the Doctors In podcast, it's because of you guys. And we appreciate that. Okay? Our audience, remember, it's us against them. I love that. I'm telling you. Okay? I love that. Okay. Talk to you soon.